Moving throughout the castle, Nebula sees no one. Hallway after hallway, door after door, barracks, rooms, dining halls, empty. Finally making their way to the castle's main room, the throne room. Pushing open the door, it slowly creaks open to reveal 14 seats. 13 in a semicircle and a 14th risen in the center of the room. But no one to be found. None seemed connected, none involved, not a soul. Nebula calls out, "Traveler! Traveler, I need you." There is no connection, and there is no response. And as Nebula looks around, he begins reading. Across each of the chairs, inscribed as a name: Reiko, Liba, Sumier, Huso, Koda, Nguyen, Yalkur, Aristania, Flit, Vanali, Warrior, Apollo, and Luck. And seated on a pillow atop each chair is an envelope. Written, "Your invitation," across. And as he reaches out, he picks it up. And he turns one over to reveal a name. And he says, "You gotta be fucking kidding me." And that is where we find our party, who's just actually back in where they're actually at right now. You guys, you're hanging out in a library. You were just introduced to Ari, the Sphinx guardian of this place. And Ari said, "Welcome to Gilramore, the lost city of knowledge." And, well, I mean, to them, it's not really the lost city. It's just the city of knowledge, which is in fact a library. And you have passed your test. Is your life worth the answers? And through a very horrific set of events, you have escaped that trap and are now
Was
free.
it that horrific?
You know, that's fair. You know, that's fair. You guys have you've done worse.
Tyka's almost dead.
You are welcome to leave and explore this level of the library.
I say, while we're exploring, we take a long rest.
Yes, I would agree with that. I guess quick clarification. This place is called what? I wrote it down. I swear I did. I did notes. Gilramore. Gilramore is the entire land of time, or just the library?
Gilramore is just this library. The land of time.
Sorry. I said time. Didn't mean to say time. Gilramore is the land of knowledge, or is it just the library called Gilramore?
Just the library called Gilramore.
Okay,
it's
the
big
way you
enough.
made it sound like the library is the land of time and land of knowledge.
No, sorry. This is the lost city of knowledge. And as you look around, you do take in that this space is definitely large enough to be considered a city.
Gotcha.
Oh,
Jesus hell.
But it is just a library.
All right, I'm gonna say something perhaps that's a little controversial, but I say
Everything
we get
you
the
say
rest.
is controversial. But continue.
Everything I say is wisdom. There's a difference. I say that we take a sit, and then once we're done our rest, we explore, because we don't really know what could await around the next corner. What if Ari the Sphinx is just one of many sphinxes ready to test us for more knowledge. What if they say some other curious riddle? I say we rest here. And then once we're done our rest, we go for the explore.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, Taika drops to one knee, and blood is like trickling down the side of his face. Yeah, I could really.
I'm gonna
use a
lay
rest.
on hands, just Taika real quick, so he may feels a little better.
Thanks.
And Doc just replies, "Everything you say isn't always wisdom. I don't think you actually know the definition of wisdom, but I'm not going to go into an intellectual battle with you. However, what you just said is very correct. Sitting down for a while.
It's the
would
PvP
be
episode.
Right. Well, last episode was the PvP episode against others
Well,
that weren't actually
That's
us.
PvPE, technically.
PvP!
PvP.
That's a PV me.
PV meet, right? But yes, if I turn, I mean, is Ari still there or whoever?
Ari stayed where they were, standing directly in front of Amir, who has
Amir,
yet to come out. But all of you, including Alunon, Bucket's mother, have come out.
That we don't actually know is his mother still yet.
Correct. You're unaware of that.
Unaware of that. Okay. And I say, I would agree if we can take time to just, for lack of a better word, not, and then come back together. I mean, we don't have much to do other than look around and get more knowledge or whatever's in the book that you found, Bucket. But resting would be quite nice.
And when you say you guys are having this conversation prolonged about resting, one of the mechanical creatures nearby turns and says, "Oh, hello, intruders. I hear you are discussing resting.
Yeah.
Would you like to learn about resting?"
Nope.
Oh, could you take us to some place where we can rest safely?
Yes, of course. And he turns and begins walking just down one of the aisles.
I'll follow.
I guess
We follow.
And as they lead you, they take you down an aisle and you zigzag and you walk a couple of city blocks worth of distance as you're going by. And again, it's just everywhere you walk. There are books. There are so many different sizes and shapes. Some of them are the sizes of entire bookcases, perhaps made for a giant to read. Some of them are just repetition of the same book, or some are marked under historical as you're going down certain aisles. And it is absolutely it's so difficult to fathom how much information you're walking by.
Doc is currently like the best way I can describe this. Doc right now is the equivalent of Brock walking by a Girls Gone Wild photo shoot. He's just taking this is very nice.
And eventually you get to a location that is a bookshelf. And near this, there is a fountain and there are benches. And the creature turns and grabs a book off of a shelf. And as you see, there are different there is a circle of bookcases. There are about 8 of them that point in a circle around this fountain and benches that definitely looks like it's designed to like gather around. But these all kind of lead right to it. And it plucks a book off of the shelf and then looks back and counts how many of you there are and plucks that many total and turns and says,
plus
"Please."
extra for Proxima.
Yep, 1 extra for Proxima and 1 for Alunon, and says, "Here you are. Please, intruders, read these and enjoy your rest here."
Take the
Gallagher's
book.
gonna tentatively grab the book, happy it's not a mystical orb of eternal knowledge this time. So,
Yeah, and you've all well, at least Gallagher's grabbed a book. How about the rest of you?
I'll grab it. Oh yeah.
Yeah, Doc's still looking around and a mage hand will just like tap the person and take the book.
And yep, so a mage hand is passed to you. Taika has taken one, Bucket, Alanon, and Proxima. All are dished out a book. And then this creature turns and says, enjoy. If you need anything else, just ask. And it begins to walk away.
One thing actually, I was wondering if I could check out, perhaps learn more about being a ranger.
Certainly. If you would like, I can procure any type of book in the classification of ranger. Do you have specific knowledge you wish to glean?
You know, I had a dream a few nights ago about rangers who study the dark. You know, I have this weird memory of the darkness of... It's almost like a different life that I lived. I want to learn more about it. Gloomstalkers, I believe they were called.
Doc is staring at Gallagher.
Meta knowledge. No, we can't address it.
And he looks
Doc
at...
can.
The creature looks at Gallagher and says, Gloomstalker, filed under Shadow Fighters, located in this realm as... And then an orb drops, and it removes it and says, here you are.
Gallagher's just gonna like look at the rest of the party with like a beaming smile, like knowledge. He's gonna grab it just very excitedly.
And as you do, make a Constitution saving throw.
Gallagher dies.
Let's if he does, he would have lived a good life. Oh, that's not good. That's a 10.
Okay. You take 6 points of psychic damage as your mind is flooded with information on how to be a Gloomstalker. And it's like you're sort of having sort of a, not quite a breakdown, but it's just flooding with knowledge of how to hunt, how to track. It's almost like someone's like life as a Gloomstalker has just been sort of implanted into your mind as you are reading this book and reading bit by bit by bit by bit of how they went about it, how they trained, how long they would hold their breath before releasing the arrow. All of that has just downloaded, and you're having like a little bit of a hard time processing, but it is in your head right now.
All right. That was great. Thank you, robot.
Gallagher, I must ask a question.
Mhm.
Where did your fascination with the wilderness, or specifically the darker side of the wilderness, where did that come from?
I lived in a city before I was born, before I died, I guess. The city life was grand. I spent most of it frolicking with lovely people, drinking lots of hard liquor, getting drunk, selling things, and I realized that I had wasted most of my life on frivolous possessions. I want to come closer to a place that's natural and quiet. That's what I yearn for now.
I can respect that. I was merely curious. I know when, and I look at the other two for a second, just for a quick second, but then I seemingly just shake it off. But in your mind, you hear, I know when two words collide, you can be confused. So I was just curious.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've been given these books. And Danny, were you going to say something there?
Oh no.
Okay. So all of you have been given these books to read over, and Alunon makes her way over to the benches and begins flipping through her book.
All right. I'm gonna read too and take a long rest.
And as you sit down to try and gleam over this book and maybe relax for what you expect to be, you know, hey, we should spend the night here. You open up your book, and do the rest of you open your books as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, you all take up a position to begin reading them. And as you start reading, these are blank books. And as you start turning the pages, you are thinking about the most relaxing time you've ever had in your life, the most well rested you ever were, and the time that you got to just not fear danger, not be on your guard, maybe some of the best food you had ever had. And all of these memories are just kind of coming to you as you are sort of automatically, the moment you opened the book, you start just mindlessly flipping through these pages. What are those scenes in like just a few sentences? What are those scenes? Let's start with Bucket. What is that most relaxing time that you actually experienced in your life?
This is after the Melee Ball tournament where it's like the victory dinner thing after his first Melee Ball game where he's with his team, where he's with Topher, where he's with what was our Eric Hawker's
Helvetica?
name?
Oh,
No, not Helvetica. Yeah, with Helvetica and everyone. And he's celebrating and he's just happy because, he's finally found people who are like him and he's just like, I can relax finally.
yeah. And you're just reading through, and all of that is just going through your mind. It's almost like that's on the pages, but you sort of recognize that they're blank, but it doesn't occur to you because you're just going down memory lane. How about for Gallagher?
Well, the most relaxing moment he would have been when he was training in space with Astral Self, but that's he
No
ruined
longer
that for himself. So now, what his most relaxing moment was a time with his family back when he was a young lad. His dad was teaching him the ways how to be a proper door-to-door salesperson, and was like, "Hey, this is what you gotta do. You gotta the ABCs always be closing." And he was like, "Okay." And then he tried it and he failed. But you know what? His dad still looked at him like he was proud. And he was like, "You're going to make a great salesman one day, kid. You're going to do great. You're going to be lovely." And he like patted his head. And he was like, "Yeah, that's a good memory."
And that is just going right through your mind as you hold on to that. And then on to Doc.
I apologize in advance. Doc's one of his most relaxed memories was after a night with his husband Alistair and his partner Zael. He is polyamorous, and they were all quite literally very relaxed by the end. But most importantly, after they all got cleaned up, whatever, their daughter ran in, Kiara. And they all just had like a family moment, just kind of relaxing and chilling and being happy with how the way things are.
Yeah. And as you hold
them.
this book, that goes through your mind and you remember these wonderful, blissful moments. And it's almost like you're reliving them as you flip through these pages. And
God, don't look down. Don't look down.
And last but not least, for Taika.
Yeah, so for Taika, his memory is he's laying on the couch in the green room after his first big show that he did with David and the rest of the crew. And it's like one of those things that after you're done performing, you are just on a couch. Every single muscle is completely relaxed, and you have a drink down in one hand on the floor, and you just pull it up, take a slug, and pull it back down, and just everything is amazing. It feels great.
And you are in that green room. You can smell it. You can hear the energy from the crowd murmuring outside that, is still dispersing, and you are just beaming. And all of that energy comes over you, and you reach the end of the book. And as you reach the last page of your book, you come back to your senses and you realize you're fully rested. All of you have now successfully received a full rest, and you are now a level higher. You have all leveled up.
Level 8, let's go.
Oh, Danny, you're muted.
So
I apologize.
told us
I
that
said,
we were
let's
gonna
go.
And so you have all rested in the time it took you to read that book.
Damn.
Oh shit.
And you are full rested. So
well.
yeah, so all of you have reached that point, And now you hear coming from Alanon as she says, "What? What happened? I was reading the book and then, huh? That is most peculiar." And she starts flipping through the book again, but nothing's happening now.
Mm-hmm.
And there seems to be just like her pages. They're duller than they were when she was first reading it. When you were all reading it, they were this like bright, almost radiant sort of light coming off of them. And now that she's done and she's trying to go back through the book, it's just blank pages now. So, I suppose that means we have a bit of time to do whatever we'd like to next. And we are in a library.
It would seem that way, yes.
Bucket,
Well-
you want to check the book?
Yes, and I'll pull out the book that I pulled from the shelf the other day that told me I was going to die. So
And you pull out that book, and it says that you returned the book. You have checked out another book. You have then withdrawn this, and you find that you have the fight of your life with a cat to your left. And now the next page has shown you and a group relaxing by water. And then in the next page, it shows you reading over a book and standing up in shock.
I'm gonna stand up, not in shock, and I'm just gonna tell everyone, I guess we should start browsing. So,
Anything in particular?
I'm gonna look. Is there any details on? Sorry, I was about to sneeze. I still might. I'm gonna go. No, it's not happening. God. I was like, huh? Is there any details on the fucking book that will direct me towards any section or something like that?
So when you are looking it over, you're trying to see what it is. You are in this, you are at a desk, and you are standing up, and you are just standing there mouth agape. And behind you, there are aisles, and the one whose address is visible is personal history.
I'm gonna yell for. I'm gonna go look for a robot.
Yeah. And what? How do you do that? Like, what do you say? What do you do?
I'm gonna be like, what's the place called again? The library?
Gilramore.
Gilgramore. Robots, help us, pretty please. I'd like to find a book or a section.
And one of the beings nearby advances over towards you and turns and says, "Is there a being known as a robot with you?"
Sorry, no. You though, you can help me.
"Oh, I am known as an Orbite."
Orbite. Okay, well, Orbite, could you help me find the personal history section?
"Absolutely." And turns and then turns back and says, "Whose personal history section?"
Does it say on this in the book at all, or?
No, in the book it does not.
Gallagher's just gonna like lean over and say, Nebula Gravvicon.
And it stands there and it stares at you for a moment. And it just sits in silence, still staring at you.
Well, I guess there's nothing there.
And then it stops and it goes, "I'm sorry, you do not have clearance for that section."
Cool.
Oh, why not?
And it drops an orb that is black and twisted with energy, and it extends it.
Put that back. I don't need to know.
I'll touch it. I'll touch it.
I will mage
I
hand
will
my
slap.
hand.
I will
no
knock
way
him
would
out.
you do that.
I'll dex.
Knock him
I want
out.
to roll a dex save. I want to roll acrobatics. I want to touch the ball. Let me touch the
Fine.
ball.
Die.
Okay, so does Bucket actually reach this? Does anyone attempt to stop them? And if so, Bucket can totally contest that.
Oh, if he wants to contest it, it's a mage
I-
hand, so he's going to win against a mage hand.
Okay.
For me, at least.
I will astral arms constrain him to prevent him from touching that orb.
Yeah, Taika would just like grab his shoulder, but it probably wouldn't like do anything more than that.
It's like
Now,
that one scene
Bucket-
from Naruto where they all come to Neji and there's like.
But Bucket, would you like to contest that?
No, I'll see it after all. I guess just stopping me. I'm just like, fine. No.
If you want to do it, don't let Danny stop you, Bucket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would Bucket,
Bucket
do?
doesn't fear. Does Bucket fear death? No, Bucket still has unfinished business, so Bucket can't. He's like he's okay with dying, just not yet. So
Okay, so Bucket chooses not to.
no. So like
Yeah.
I guess can you take me to my history?
And again, it stares at you for a moment, and then it retracts the black orb and absorbs it back into its mechanism. And basically, if you guys want to have an understanding, these are these like wood and metal like automatons, and in the center there is this hole that these orbs keep dropping from, and they're charged with stuff.
Sorry.
Yeah, and so no worries. And so that drops in, and it sucks that black energy back up, and then it turns and it says certainly, and it begins walking towards a section.
All right. I'm gonna look at everyone. I'm gonna shrug, and I'm just gonna follow.
Okay.
I will tiptoe and I'll slink towards the shadows because Gallagher has a feeling that some information that he learned last night has sunk in. So he's just gonna. I feel it.
I'm gonna look over and be like, "You're doing great, sweetie. You're doing wonderful."
Am
I am more
invisible
than
yet?
positive your marriage has been annulled by now.
It's only
Has
been
it been
3
a week?
days.
Yeah, isn't it?
It's a
2
week.
days?
It's a week.
It's a
It's a
week. Never mind then. The time wizard was fucking wrong.
It's okay. You think everything's longer or shorter than it really is. What is time to you?
No, my husband thinks things are longer or shorter than they actually
Okay,
are.
all right, keep going.
And as you begin walking, you come across these aisles as this being is just taking you somewhere, this orbite. And as it is leading you through, you are crossing through, again, all manner of books. And you have some books that are laying open and words are transferring over from one book to another and jumping back and forth, like a cascade. You've got other books that seem to be half of a book, and one half is chained up and tied over here, and the other half is encased over here. But it has been a book that's cut horizontally. Or diagonally. And so it's a separate book. And as you are passing through, it takes you to a section that is now personal history. And you see it begin walking all the way down to the end of an aisle. And it turns and it points to some books on a shelf. And you can see your birth name, Bucket.
I'm gonna grab that real fast.
Do I see it
Yeah.
first?
Okay, so this is everyone make a perception check versus
Let him
Bucket's,
have his moment.
versus Bucket's dex check.
Oh
and
yeah!
yeah. So your speed to snatch that away versus their happening to look right at what has happened. We'll just say if anyone sees your name.
All right, I got a 14 plus 4, so it's an 18.
23.
I got a
Oh,
2
fuck.
plus. I got a 2 plus 11. So
Okay.
I am
Okay.
not. I am not looking at that.
Okay.
I'm looking somewhere else.
That's fine. And so Taika gets a brief glance of a name on there. And with this, what does he read? What is the name that he reads?
His fucking I don't remember. I told you, didn't I? Is that in our DMs? I gotta go look. It's been forever. Oh my god. Hold on. Let me see. Sorry. Okay, it's not here. I'm just gonna make up a name on the spot.
Intrapentor.
Oh, thank you. Eris
So-
Intrapentor.
AARES. Intrapentor. And I need to make a roll. Oh boy.
It's probably fine.
Okay. And yeah, so you snag that book and Gallagher doesn't see it. Doc isn't even looking. So you're pretty sure you're in the clear?
Things are fine. And I'm gonna go. Is there a desk nearby?
Right here? No.
Okay. So obviously we're not where we're supposed to be. So I'm gonna turn to everyone like in the book. So this isn't about me. In the book, I'm at a desk, and behind me is the section, which means we need to find a section with a desk. So I'm gonna turn towards the orbite, and I'm like, could you take me to a desk inside of this section?
Certainly. And it turns and it begins walking and leads you to an area that is still in personal history, but is a few, like a block or two down. Personal history is like size of Walmart here. And that's just this section. And it takes you to personal history and it brings you to a desk. And there is a desk to read. And behind it, there is in fact an aisle that says personal history.
I'm gonna look at everyone like we need to look at this section and see if there's anything that we recognize. So I'm gonna start looking through that.
Okay. Now, anyone else, anything particular you'd like to do during all of this?
You could tell that Doc is still like in himself for a second. So come to me in a second as I figure out level up stuff.
Yeah. And so Doc is just kind of thinking and going through that. Anything about Gallagher or Tycho while they're here?
Gallagher's gonna look at his own personal history quickly and just see what he finds quickly. Just like if there's anything, there's like, is there anything I don't know about myself?
Yeah, so you ask to see your history?
Yes.
And the orbite would take you a few aisles away. And you're able to grab your book, and Gallagher Quickshot is written on it. And yeah, as you pick it up, you'd like to open it and go through it?
Yeah. Leaf through it, see if there's anything that sticks out.
Okay. And anything Tycho's doing?
Tycho also wants to ask the orbite, hey, can you lead me to my personal history? I've got something I want to do with it.
And it turns and it leads you somewhere. And it leads you to an aisle that is not far from where Buckets was, actually. So it backtracked, and it had you grab a book off a shelf that is labeled Tycho Kuzlo.
Cool, and Tycho kind of like grabs it, has like a frown on his face, and doesn't open it, and says, all right, thanks, and I'm gonna go find Bucket.
Okay.
Yep.
And yeah, you can get back and is Doc about to say something?
Oh, sorry, are they done?
I think
Yes.
they have all grabbed, and then we're gonna have something with Bucket here in a sec. Yeah.
Yes, I will have looked over and asked for any books on conjuration they may have. Just reintroducing myself to a style of magic I have not done in a long periodically time. But also I need to know more about the gods. I feel like we did our job, but our job isn't finished yet, and he doesn't understand what's in the book. And remembering what happened with the girl when Gravvicon almost grabbed her, I forgot her name. Shira, whatever her name was.
Oh, Stara.
Stara, thank you. And other stuff. So he just wanted to just reintroduce himself to the knowledge of the divine as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it begins helping you amass several different books on the subject. when you at first when you ask for everything you've got on like on that type of magic, it drops an orb that is definitely oozing with like just so much energy, and it's like, here is everything we currently have on the subject.
I said conjuration, and specifically conjuring demons or constructs or things of bringing an entity to you, not all types of conjuration. Thank you.
Oh, and it again absorbs that back in as it keeps trying to give you way too much information.
Not that either.
And roll an insight check right now. Both you and Gallagher could do that.
I'm sorry.
Because Gallagher's been offered a black orb before.
Been offered many. That is a 27.
Yeah, you're gonna beat my ass on that one for sure. Yeah, I cannot get a 27. I can get a 24 though.
Nice. So with a 24 and a 27, you keep getting offered these things, and you keep getting this sense of just like death when this orb comes your way. But also, this being, these creatures, these orbites, they seem like they've been designed to do this job. Like they're essentially acting as librarians, and they're offering you of this, what seems like deadly energy is very nonchalant to them. As in, whoever they typically offer stuff to, this is just a regular day. So you at least like, look, I feel like I would die if I touched that. Why do you keep? And it's that moment of like, who do you give these to?
But with that being said, we can also perceive something to be a lot more than it is. With that being said, Doc expects that these things hold so much magic that you will be overloaded, but will it actually cause death, or will it cause just
Harm?
Harm.
That's a good question. Does Doc ask?
Yes, he says, when you've been offering those black dark orbs to us who seemingly to you and to RA are just visitors, intruders, who typically comes into this library?
Typically, there are not intruders in the library unless you are the librarian or an invited guest.
And who typically is invited? What type of entity?
Those who have passed judgment and trials and seek the knowledge of all.
So, why are we still intruders?
And it turns to that question. You have not been tested.
Weren't we technically just tested by the Sphinx, or was that a different type of test?
And it turns back to you and says, Ari did confirm you are not a threat, but you were not invited by the outside librarian. Therefore, you are welcome intruders.
Then who is the outside librarian?
And it just stares at you.
Oh no, he's about to give you a black orb. Be careful. That librarian is incomprehensibly smart.
Forgive me for speaking potentially out of line or turn, or I don't know. And I don't claim to know everything, but I am quite older than the 3, 4, potentially 5 of them I probably have heard of. Maybe, if you give a name.
And it opens its mouth
Death.
And
Thank you. Rolling new character.
do you speak primordial?
I do speak primordial.
Lovely. And it opens its mouth, and you hear this guttural sound and voice come out as it says, Kudanya. And that name to current Doc means that is the name of the capital city in knowledge, because that is the name of the goddess of knowledge, Kudanya. So they have just answered that the outside librarian is the goddess of knowledge.
Out of character really quick. Am I still here? Yeah, still can hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Cool. I thought it seems like my internet's being weird, but it might just be Google.
And so in to condense this, they have just said the outside librarian who can give you an invitation is the goddess of knowledge, and none of you were invited by the goddess of knowledge to come here. Therefore, you are intruders. Ari has
Understood.
tested you, so you are welcome intruders, but it will continue to call you intruder.
Understood. Then the last thing he'll say, so everybody else can speak. Then, other than the books on the specific book on conjuring entities, and the book on, I forgot exactly what I just asked for. Jesus.
The books on all of the dead and the gods.
And other than the books on gods, I would like 2 specific books, if you can. 1 on the goddess of knowledge, 2 on the god of time.
And it turns to go fetch those books. So,
Thank you.
jumping back, Bucket real quick, and then we've got Gallagher opening their book. So, Bucket, you have turned to start perusing those aisles to try and figure out if there's anything there. Give me an investigation check with advantage because you have you had the book direct you here.
Perfect. Okay, investigation. All right, 14 plus 3. At 20.
Shit, yeah. Okay, so you have a natural 20, and as you are gleaming over all of the books, you are trying to see like whose personal history. I don't know this name. I don't know that name. This doesn't mean anything to me. And then you ultimately come to a name that is familiar to you. And let me make sure I bring this up. You bring up a name, Jealous, which jealous immediately sparks in your mind your captain, the drow swashbuckling pirate who you sailed under and learned your skills from. You've come to the Isle with her book.
I'm grabbing that and I'm sitting down and I'm just gonna start reading.
And yeah, you grab that and you open it up and you start reading, and you get to learn bits about her history that you didn't know before, about where she grew up, that it was more of a ritzy place, sort of like yourself, that she grew up, but then due to a fire breaking out and a warring family wanting control of a city, they slaughtered her entire family. And she was able to escape under the guise of death, and she got away. And in her travels, she would eventually become one of the most skilled and revered pirates out there. She was still very good, but she is a danger on the water for sure. And in this, you're reading and you're reading and you're reading, and then you come across someone. You come across an image and a story of her meeting a white-haired being with stars under his skin that offered her quite a lot of money and a promise of something greater in exchange for picking up a young half-elf Asimar.
Bitch.
Nebula Gravvicon.
Gravy man! I'm gonna stand up in shock, just like in the book.
And as you do, you stand up and you have just realized that chance encounter and sneaking onto the boat of ending up being with this captain seems to have been set up.
I'm gonna turn. Who's near me right now? Is I know Alinan. No, Alinan. I don't know where Alinan is, but okay, Taika and Doc are off somewhere else, right?
Tyka's on their way over. Doc is away, and Gallagher's on the way. So yeah, they're within sight.
Okay, I'm gonna turn towards whoever's closest. I'm gonna be like, they set me up.
Who did?
Gravvicon, look.
The gravy man? Let me see. Oh, it seems like he gathered you as well. So it seems like that little man has had a part to play in all of our lives.
They set us all up.
You think? That'd be kind of fucked up the way that I got set up then. I'm just gonna put that out there.
Well, then how did you get set up?
I mean, I thought I died in an accident.
And you're a professional, right?
And
accidents don't happen like that.
Yeah, the trick was tried and true. Everything was checked.
Well, open your book. Maybe we can find if there's any names that might lead you to perhaps figuring out who set you up.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, Taika's gonna
Gallagher and Taika.
And Taika will open the book, but specifically, he is careful when he turns the page. He doesn't want to get to or past the present.
Okay.
Specifically.
Okay. And so as you are looking through Gallagher, I know earlier you opened up your book specifically, so I want to get to that real quick. You are flipping through your book about your life. And this is the life of Gallagher Quickshot. And you are reading through it, getting to the point of you dying. You saw your life, you saw your childhood, you saw all the drinking and the being a salesman, and one day you see and read about the assassin coming to kill you, and then someone reaching down to the assassin reaching down to maybe heal you, and then you are whisked away. And then you read, and the pages stop making as much sense right away, because that moment where you get pulled away, on the next page, you see the white-haired assassin transform into you. But on the other page, you're in Gravvicon. And then on the next page, you see yourself going back to work. And you see yourself training in Gravvicon. And on the next page, you see yourself inheriting the family company like was supposed to happen. But it definitely looks like someone is looking like you. And at the same time, you are going through your training. And so the life of the name Gallagher Quickshot has diverged and split. And the name and life of Gallagher Quickshot continued. Gallagher Quickshot's life kept going.
Wait a minute. Out of character brain blast.
Yeah.
What if Nebula Gravvicon replaced us in our own lives after we died to continue the life and lineage so that no one suspects a thing, especially when he had a direct involvement in and our deaths?
I'm gonna go look past my death in my book after I supposedly died on my ship.
And as you're looking through, do you skip your death or do you read it?
I'm gonna read my death because I'm also gonna read because supposedly Jaelus, my captain, also died to the same creature. So after I read mine, I'm gonna read that as well.
So As you read, you're reading through your death scene, and you get to this moment where this thing that has been chasing you, that has been hunting you down, this entity, this feeling, you turn the page and you see yourself drowning. And then you see a hand reach up from the depths as it goes to grab you with these long fingernails and these interesting designs all over its skin. And
would you call them
tattoos
stars and constellations?
like you've never seen before. Like you're looking at entire galaxies underneath that skin. If you're looking for nebula, you see stars. But this is like looking at worlds exploding beneath the skin as this thing reaches up and you see a face that you have never seen before. But it is horrifying. And yet it feels somewhat familiar. And as it goes to grab you, you vanish.
Oh my god. It's Future Proxima.
You vanish, and your life jumps, and you are now in a split book. As it shows Bucket the Bastard climbing onto land after that shipwreck, and as the hair white transforms into your hair color to match, the starry skin of a familiar being takes your form, and Bucket's life continues on, but also the life you currently know. So yes, you were replaced as well.
Cool. I'm gonna look over at the people here, and I'm gonna be like, "This is fucked. This is terrible."
This is absolutely horrifying.
And Taika finally getting to his book and reading through. Where do you want to read up to?
He wants to get up to the point where he dies, and then he will decide from there what he wants to do.
And you read up through it. And as you're reading through, you see yourself moving to set up everything. And you have this realization as you're looking at the book that a new stagehand that you had a conversation with the day of your death was helping you set things up. And in the image, you can see the same brand on its chest that you have recalled on nebulas.
Mm-hmm.
And that stagehand helped you set that piece. And that is where you read up to, and then the performance of you going on, and then your death. And that moment where David comes to save you, and that is where you have stopped reading.
I think a tear kind of rolls down his eye, and he flips the next page and kind of starts getting engrossed and wants to see what the fuck happened after that.
And with a vanish, your body disappears in front of a live audience. And suddenly, out steps you from off stage and takes a bow. And as the curtain falls, you see yourself split, where your life under the name of Taika Kuzlo continues, but also the life you know, where you're actually in Gravvicon, is shown. The pages, every other page. It's almost like a flip book. If you could ignore every page on the right, you would read one story. If you read every page on if you ignored every page on the left, you're reading a continual different story. And the one on stage rushes to the back and revives the decapitated assistant, David. And then takes a bow on stage and continues living your life.
And Taika closes the book and holds it like hugs it. Look, I really don't like what they did, but I'm feeling a little vindicated. The thing that I was planning on doing was already done. Gravvicon knew that. And he still made me stay.
Gravvicon also caused that.
Gravvicon took my life and then lived it for me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look for Proxima's book, but I'm not gonna open it. I just want to make sure that she has it in case she wants to read it as well. But I won't open it because that's her information.
Do you ask someone to show you where Proxima's book is?
Yes, I do.
You do not have clearance for that book.
Is there a black orb? I'm gonna touch it.
I'm like, book it. Hand me your book.
Which one?
The book on you.
Okay, I'm gonna hand you mine.
I flip to the page where the thing grabs him, and I'm like, and like you see its face, and we're like, is that the same person as the person I just talked to you about? And this person, are these the same?
And it looks at the image that you're trying to show it, and it looks back at you, and it says, I have no data pertaining to that entity.
Pause. What did I miss?
Okay.
A lot.
Wow.
So-
Thanks, Chrome.
Okay,
You
here's
mis-
actually it's a great moment for our break. So here's what we're gonna do is as you ask, is that the same person? It says to you, I have no information regarding that entity. And it looks at you and says, what is that entity?
So again, important. It has not Bucket. What did Bucket just say to everybody?
I think you were the only one who was off. But you're obviously welcome to like meander back towards the group. You just got taken over to go get the books that you had requested.
Gotcha. Man, I got a 15 passive perception. Not the worst thing in the world. I probably heard something.
Yeah, you
Cool,
definitely
cool,
heard
cool.
Bucket yell.
Yeah, I yelled Gravvicon set us up.
Okay. And I will walk over to the area. Hopefully get my books as well. Excuse me?
I'm everyone's looking at their books, and I'm just gonna turn my book, and I'm just like, everyone show him. And it's just like,
I'll like flip to the page and be like, this right here is when Nebula Gravvicon kills me. And then when you flip the page, this is where Nebula Gravvicon becomes me and takes over my life. And then this is me receiving training at Gravvicon headquarters, where I learned my martial arts technique. Definitely didn't train in the hyperbolic time chamber for a few years.
Yes. And I look at Taika. I'm assuming the same for you.
Yeah, similar. Nebula snuck onto my crew, rigged the trick. Then I died. David died. I poofed back in a puff of smoke. Nebula, as me, poofed back in a puff of smoke. Finished the show and then revived David. Everything was fine. And then I flipped the page, and then you see the panels are split. Here I am, Gravvicon. Here I am, living my life.
And at this moment, Alunon chimes in and says, what are you talking about?
wait, has Alan not seen my book?
Alanon simply asks you what you're talking about as she walks up.
Well, Miss Alunan, I think it's worthwhile that you learn a little bit more about us.
Hold on.
This,
Hold on.
Hmm?
I believe in time, not fate, but I do believe in fate, and I believe it's an agent of time. 1 second. I look at the Orbot thing, if they're over here. I need to see my book, please. Dr. Raphael Lorcan.
And it looks at you, and then it goes and it retrieves a book.
And as they're going to go, the difference between you three is that each of you had an accident, or death wasn't necessarily on the menu. I was at the end. if he orchestrated that as well, then that's actually truly a problem. Not to belittle what happened to you. So sad. Oof.
Read the damn book, Doctor.
Yeah, and it returns with your book.
I will immediately open the book, just right in front of me. And as I have it, you see the mage hand is just kind of flipping through. As I read very fast, I'm just trying to see what's happening. But what do I see?
Yeah, and you see the same stories and information about your life that you are familiar with. The stories of you from this world. This book seems to have your info only from this world, because when time split, you have two lives that's from start to end. Both happen like here, and the one that's here leads you all the way through. And when you get to your moment of death, you are laying in your bed, and then a figure appears in your room, and it looks around, and then it leaves. And time stops in that space. Your heart, your soul, everything is just suspended in time. And other people come and they find you, and you are dead to them. They found you dead. And Chrono G magic is not really a thing much in like the circles you were running in, not terribly much. And they have a funeral for you. You're buried. You're left to rest. And then you are left there for a long time. But you are not dead. And they plucked you. You essentially died, but the book is reading that you were just frozen from almost existence. You were just, when that thing came and went, you were in a
Could I
state.
tell what that person, that figure was?
Oh, hell yeah. That looks like one of the Gravvicon members in the hoods. One of the crowns.
It looks like a crown.
Yeah.
Did it look like Gravvicon? Like Nebula?
So it does not look like Nebula. You get sort of the same imagery from the Gravvicon who sent you on the mission to begin with.
Interesting. And
so technically everything happened the way you thought it did. Because your life ended that night.
And just so Doc is sure, when he recalls this, it doesn't seem like there was like, him being in tune to magic. Not saying he's perfect, not saying he can see everything, but you can kind of tell when like if someone is like using the disguise self, where that's like a slight shimmer of magic, anything that might be cloaking who they actually are. Nothing like that.
No.
Okay.
And roll a insight check for me.
22.
If you did not die, you are noting like it kind of dawns on you. Like this is saying that you didn't actually die then.
Unlike everyone else.
Unlike everyone else who's been replaced.
And unlike Proxima, which she's told us she didn't die, but she didn't tell us much past that.
Well, you claim you were working at Gravvicon for a while longer than all of us. What if there's a series of events that necessitated our existence at Gravvicon? You were more or less a happenstantial accident at Gravvicon that happened to be lumped in with us hoodlums. In fact, you joined much later on this whole adventure. Whereas
Are you
Okay.
speaking to me?
Yeah, you.
No. I have been working for Gravvicon long before you have.
That's what
Exactly.
he's
That's my
saying.
point. Because
Oh.
you've been working for, but you haven't been working on this
I
specific
wasn't
job.
Understood.
Yes.
Well, kind of. Long story.
Yeah, because you know he doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, well, actually.
Either way, us four died in happenstantial accidents where we've yet to see what Proxima is. She's locked in deep ponderous thought. But
Proxima's just back, just snoring on the bench.
but at least for us three, we all happened to appear in the Gravvicon room prior to our mission. I was merely training, plucked right from out of there. And all of a sudden we woke there. The same time, relatively, I guess. Gravvicon standard time. So what if we all happenstantially were plucked at the same time? You just happen to be an important member of this job.
I was at Gravvicon for like 6 months before we all met.
But then why were we all plucked in similar? Why were us two plucked in similar fashions?
Similar
How
time,
is that
similar
different?
quote unquote time frames. Remember, Nebula is going through time at multiple points. There are multiple different
Yeah.
nebulas and multiple different times going to other times. It just happens that similar nebulas at similar times on our timelines plucked us and brought us to Gravvicon. Us three all came in at very similar times within a 6-month period of each other. Proxima is also in that range. Doc is the only outlier. And Doc is the only one, at least we can assume, because we don't know about Proxima, because Proxima is passed out, is that we were brought here by Nebula, not by someone of the official Gravvicon Order.
Well, we don't. Well, we can pretty much be positive that whatever plucked you was not necessarily Nebula either.
But
That is
Nebula
not
took over
Nebula.
my life. How do we know that plucked
No,
me?
that Nebula didn't take over your life. That thing probably did.
Can I look
There was a difference. The thing that was going after you had those galaxies, but the thing that changed into you looked like Nebula. So
Okay.
I'll just correct
Mm.
that real quick.
So
So
it was.
it definitely
No
looked like
apologies.
Nebula replaced you, but that was not who attacked you.
Okay. So Nebula
Hey,
replaced us.
Bucket,
Wait.
can I get a dexterity saving throw?
What?
Of course,
And we're talking in a
they've been
library!
talking too long.
Okay, here I go.
You've been talking too loud.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a 19 plus 4, so that's 23.
That is a natural 20 on my end.
Yikes.
Specifically on Alunan's end, as she, in the moment you are distracted talking with Gallagher, having seen her last name on a book earlier, she strips the book from your hands. And you didn't quite notice her approach as she
I
was
cast a
just,
second level Divine Smite! Just kidding. I can't
and so
do
she
it.
strips the book from your hands and turns it over and reads your name.
Ma'am, you probably shouldn't be reading that. That's private information.
I'm gonna
And
just freeze. I'm gonna be like, fuck.
And she looks at you and says, "Who are you? And
Just a
why
small
does this
town girl."
belong to you?"
Well, technically, you gave it to me.
Oh,
Roll a
shit.
d20.
Yes! It's my turn! 11.
Okay. So with an 11, the writing on the book changes. And you are typically, your name has been written A-A-R-E-S. It is now written A-A-R-I-S. And that simple little letter changes.
Is the
And
S's in the squiggly ones that Gallagher did in the first couple episodes?
You know what? Yeah, because that's
Yeah.
about royalty. Yes. So
No, no, I'm shifting
You can't do this.
all of that.
Aha!
and Alunon looks at you and says, "Now I might not know everything, but I did just have a thought occur to me that if this is what I thought it was, I would deliberately name my child with an I instead of an E."
Well, if you would look at the name.
Oh, and she's, "Oh, I'm seeing it."
Yeah.
And she is just staring at you.
Nice to meet you, Mom.
You say the word mom?
Yeah. I'll say it.
And she looks at you and has this moment of dawning. Roll another d20.
Aha! 2! That's a 9!
Okay, so with a 9, you remember just an instance in your childhood that whenever you would call your mother mom, it was actually something that she would sort of chastise you a little bit about now. And she would have you call her any other motherly name except mom.
I'm like, but you don't like Mom necessarily, don't you?
And she just kind of squints at you. Okay. Okay, so I've been ripped out of time. I understand that much. But you and I... No, it's probably best I don't ask too much. This is...
We are
already-
already asking more than we should be, and
Yes.
yet
So I'm
nothing
gonna
has
take the book
changed,
back, and I'm like-
therefore.
So, nothing's changed yet. You haven't been extinguished from existence or the timeline. So, you haven't done anything too terrible yet. But we shouldn't
What
go...
have I done?
Oh, just learned. You looked too deep. Now, if we want to keep going, I'm going to take this back.
And she doesn't really fight you as you take that book back, because she is just sort of, her mind is racing.
Now, I bet you have many questions.
But I should not ask them, because that would ruin some things. I don't know much about time,
Yes.
but this already feels very wrong.
Well, before we go further, a note about my book that is different from the three of yours. You all had Nebula himself replace you. I had a crown to
I'm gonna-
escort me.
I'm gonna call over an orbit and or Orbite, and I'm like, is there any information on this figure right here? And I'm gonna point towards the crown in Doc's book.
Oh, yes. Would you like to learn more about Warrior Gravvicon?
Excuse me?
Warrior, uh-huh.
Absolutely.
And the Orbite goes and retrieves a book for you and sets it down.
I guess, should we all crowd around the desk and start reading?
Before you do that, Gallagher's gonna go, is there a Reiko Gravvicon, perhaps?
Oh, yes. You will find listed in the same book.
In
Why
that
would-
one.
Hold on.
You're
Reiko's
asking-
the god of time. Why does
Yeah.
why does Reiko have a Gravvicon last name?
And what about Yalker Gravvicon?
And Lieben Gravvicon.
And I don't know who else. I think those are the three we know.
And it again points, I have brought you the book that you require.
Is this a book about people with the last name or title Gravvicon?
This is a book about the god of time and the split of 13.
I needed to actually see this one. Thank you. You one of the books I asked for, though. I gotta find. Yeah, going through that one, reading all through that. That's
you had originally asked for a book on the God of Time, and they brought you the book on Yalkur, the God of Time here. But they have now asked for different names and that figure, and they have brought you a book that is the 13 Gravvicon. And as you open up and you start reading this book, there was a God of Time that wanted to be in more places than possible, and so divided their power into 13 entities. And by spreading that power and creating 13 versions of themselves, they are able to lord over and be present in more places, in more times, at more dimensions and more levels, all simultaneously, future, past, and present. Not a single entity appearing in one timeline and freely able to jump back and forth, but many who share one soul.
I'm going to flip towards the end of this book. I want to see how this turns out. If they have anything about like what they've done, but specifically towards the end of the book, like what's some of the last things they've done before the book stops?
So it lists off the 13 names: Reiko, Liba, Sumier, Huso, Koda, Nuin, Yalkur, Aristania, Flit, Vanali, Warrior, Apollo, and Luck. All of them are name Gravvicon, but the entity that is all of them in one is Gravvicon. And Gravvicon was the original God of Time, separated into 13 versions of themselves. And you see the face or the image of Warrior Gravvicon, and you see that one matching sort of a description of who was over your bed. Then as you get towards the end of it, you learn that the splitting caused a rift, caused a problem. The separation of the God of Time, that's powerful. And in doing so, created a 14th. And this 14th does not derive its power from the other 13. It is not connected to them. It's like what they would be if they hadn't split. If Gravvicon never chose to divide.
So, I guess what I'm extrapolating is that the 14th persona would be Gravvicon if Gravvicon was still one person. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
So Gravvicon as a person still exists. But does Gravvicon have a soul that is connected to the rest of them, or no?
So, and this is where I you're reading through, and it's a bit to decipher, but the 13 are Gravvicon. That is one entity, essentially. This 14th seems to have created when Gravvicon decided to do that. This 14th appeared, and there is a 14th member that is not Gravvicon, but is this entity, as if you shouldn't have done that.
Okay, so it's like you're making a clay pot, and the clay pot is the 13, and then this is the excess clay.
Yes, and it is formed into something.
It's
much
an evil
stronger.
pot. It's an evil pot. Cool.
Is there any descriptions on this 14th member?
Yes. And as you are reading about the 14th member and the existence of the galaxies under its skin.
And that was who
killed Danny.
I'm gonna pull out my book. I'm gonna pull up the picture, and I'm gonna go to an Orbite and be like, "Hi, or hello. If you, an Orbite, was cross-referencing this description with this picture, would you say these descriptions match up?"
Based on the image and the wording, They do seem to somewhat match. I do not have any data on that photo. Please elaborate.
Do you have any more data on this? And I'm going to point towards the description of the 13th excess. I'm going to call it the
14th.
excess. The
The
14th.
excess?
Sorry, I'm going to call it the excess.
Access, I like that.
And it looks down and says, I may have a book under myths.
Please bring me all the information on that.
And it goes off to search for those books.
And I look at the others, and I even look at Al-Anon, looking at all these variables all adding up, and they're all coming together. There are many questions that we can get out of books, that we can find and learn, but even the library isn't perfect. It doesn't have everything, as we obviously know. I don't know what the book that you grabbed, Bucket, about our next terms. I don't know what that is wanting us to do. But my mission with Gravvicon was to bring this book back to the library. Your mission with Gravvicon was to bring the book back to the library.
And yes, we are not
I
gone.
say it's time to return to Gravvicon.
But the only people that can bring us back are the knights. And I don't see any knights.
No, but you are talking to someone who apparently was blessed by a crown with time magic, and I pull out the scroll that has gate on it. I'm not saying I have to use it, but I probably can get us back.
One last thing is, and I turn to the Orbite, is this figure? We heard something about a god of destruction. No, backwards. Destroyer of gods.
I'm going to pull up my research and we can't read it, but I'm still going to show it to the Orbite to see if it means anything.
Is it that being? And I point to the 14th, the excess.
It looks down and it looks at those symbols and those words. And it looks back up and says, you do not have clearance to discuss or read those matters. May I help you with something else?
How do we get clearance?
Yes.
You would need to be tested by the outside librarian or an invitation from the current librarian.
Who is the current librarian?
I am not at liberty to say.
Oh my god.
Shall we go outside and get tested? I think there's still more we need to learn, and I feel like, while I do like the idea of gating out of here, I think the fact that knights haven't come to get us leads me to believe that while returning the book was our primary duty, there is still more for us to do necessarily here. That makes sense.
Each of you in your head, you're going to hear the same phrase. I'm going to do something that might cause us to have a problem. Are you okay with it? Nod your head if so.
I'm going to shake my head vigorously, yes.
Go rogue.
Let's do
I
it.
look
Doc's
back at
going AWOL.
I look back at the orb B. What's the name again?
Orbite.
Orbite. I keep going to call it orbits.
Yeah.
My apologies. You said what about the current librarian? You don't know who they are, or you are not at liberty to say? What is it?
I am not at liberty
The
to
minute
discuss.
he begins to speak, I cast detect thoughts and I'm probing.
On an okay.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Because I want to, because as he's thinking about it, I want to see what he thinks.
Yeah. So
Get ready to roll that con save.
Yep, that's fine. I'm gonna die.
hold on. I just need to see what
Doc's going to
happened.
start foaming at the mouth, and it's just like...
Okay.
Ready action healing word.
Orbeez, yeah, we're talking to Orbeez, guys. They're just big Orbeez.
Big Orbeez.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just making sure that this works. So, yeah. So you are.
I had a feeling they had a higher intelligence than most. The only reason I thought about it.
They do, and roll a Constitution saving throw.
Can we somehow use the help action?
This is all in his head.
I am taking a picture.
It's a nat 20.
Is that a
Fucking
nat 20?
It's a nat 20.
Doc is the bigger brain here.
Biggest brain.
Oh my god, so it's a 21. I do not
Okay.
have con.
So, as you think to read the mind, you get the surface thoughts kind of flooding into you,
Mhm.
and everything in their mind seems to translate in photos.
Mm.
You're not really getting words, you're getting pictures, and then they seem to vocalize that in the language that you speak, and you glean these thoughts, and you ask, what about the librarian? Who is that? And they're like, I'm sorry, I'm not at liberty. And you see an image for a brief moment in its mind of a tattooed woman with
That scared the shit out of me. It's like, I'm sorry.
with several cats moving about, and she is reading a book and then looks in your direction, and there's a glow in her eyes, and there is an energy that just shuts your spell down.
Cats. I'm gonna pull up my little cat statue.
I'm gonna say, well, okay. There was as they thought, there was a woman with tattoos. She had many cats, many
Tattoos?
tattoos.
I'm gonna pull up my cat statue and I'm gonna look at Doc. I'm like, I don't know. I guess it's kind of a weird long shot. I'm like, Doc, could you hold this and do that spell again?
Unfortunately, I can't. Actually, can I? Can I? I'm looking at the feet. I
Yeah,
actually
'cause
might
there's-
be able to.
Because there's a soul.
I can.
So there's three souls inside of my cat statue, and I can change interchange of them. But there's one that I don't know that is sentient and much stronger than the other two. My demon cat and my other mountain lion. I don't know. So I'll pass it to Doc, and I'm like, could you do that with this?
I could. Hold on. Oh, okay. I could, but it needs to be thinking.
There's
That's the
something
whole
in there.
point about
I-
detecting someone's thoughts.
I'm gonna put it in your hand because like you can feel that there's like something inside of it, like something sentient, something strong.
Hello, little one. I'm a fan of birds more than I am.
Oh, it's not.
felines, but-
It's not my demon cat. It's just a statue of a cat.
Oh,
No, you're just holding my. You're just holding the cat. Just.
I'm like, hello.
Did you think my cat was
just
not
holding it
sentient?
up.
What? Did you just call my cat dumb? It needs to be thinking.
So you give me the statue of the other cat, not the demon.
No, so like my summons come from the statue. So
Yeah, he has a little
He's a magic
little
item.
statue that is what allows him to summon three things. Two of them he knows.
Oh, understood.
Yeah.
I got you now. I was confusion. I'm no longer confusion. Cool. I will hold the statue of the cat in front of me. Hello, little one. I'm not a fan of cats, Milne, but I might be able to look in. And you see a tattoo on the back of my neck begin to glow as I cast Detect Thoughts once more on the statue.
Roll an Arcana check here.
I guess as I'm doing this, I don't know if this will actually work. So if anybody can give me a moral boost, if you will, that would be
Hey,
quite
hey,
lovely.
I got you.
I-
I
Not
got
you.
you.
Anyone but
I'd
you.
throw him a card.
Not doing
I'd
that.
throw him a card.
Yeah.
Give me a fist.
Yeah.
Give me a
Bardic,
fist bump.
Bardic inspiration.
I will. Okay.
Yes.
I will
for
catch
you.
the card, and I will.
Hell yeah.
See, what happens is my hand doesn't move. My mage hand just comes off.
Well, I give you. I like push through the mage head because I gotta touch you.
You touch me in spirit.
I cast guidance on you.
Oh, skip that. And what's your bardic inspiration?
Is a D8. And
D8. What?
And if you're using it on an ability check,
yeah, ability check. You also you get to roll it twice, so you roll the D8 with advantage. Yep.
Yeah, I'll take that. Okay. This is a big number. Mathiana 24 plus 7.
31.
Wait, put 31 plus 4, 35.
Let's fucking go.
Yeah, you just like look at this thing and you're like, all right, detect thoughts. And immediately there is a voice that says, let me out. Let me out. See what it's all about.
I don't like rhyming cats.
I'm staying detected on this individual. And then if I can, okay, if I can, and you let me, I will attempt to, because I don't, what's it? I see the statue, so technically, I telepathically to the individual. Who are you? And who do you serve?
I am a friend to the master of the statue.
Who is the master of the statue other than the one who currently owns the statue?
Whoever owns my service. Shall I do something for you?
Continue answering questions and potentially my friend will let you out. He has an affinity for felines, so it's more probable than not. Where did you come from?
I don't remember. But
I'm still detecting its
sir.
thoughts, so if it's saying that and thinking something else, I'ma get it.
yeah, and it does not remember.
Okay.
It only knows the statue.
Gotcha.
It only knows life tethered to this statue.
Okay. I am not a fan of those being in cages.
And you
I
hear
doubt-
a deep guttural, like, big cat growl.
There was a meow.
Yeah.
A deep guttural.
And I feel like you simply want to have fun. Potentially, we will see you sooner than you might think. Thank you for answering the questions.
As you wish.
I don't wish. I don't. Listening to their voice cadence mentally and whatever. We know one is a bigger cat, one is a demon cat. Can I ascertain anything about this third one? Like they're speaking in riddles. They seem to they want to be extra. Like, what kind of entity does that?
So when you telepathically communicate with someone, can they normally communicate back?
No, but
Cool.
if they're thinking and I'm speaking to them, I can hear the thoughts. So that's how that was working.
Okay. And
But yeah,
so
not necessarily.
yeah, and so with it, you are definitely getting some some sinister vibes.
Yeah, cool. Cool beans and collard greens. Great. I
Did you want to ask it anything else or leave it at that?
do you have a name? Names are important.
They call me Morius.
As someone who has read a lot, that sounds very, very someone's going to be in for an interesting time if they see you. Good to know. And I pop out.
Cool.
And I would just say, don't let that one out. They are not connected, I don't think, to the person I saw. But don't let that one out.
I'm gonna take the statue and I'm gonna look back at Doc and I'm gonna be like, did you ask it any questions?
I asked it many questions, and it doesn't really care for questions. It gave me his name,
What's its name?
Morius.
Do I know Amorius at in some capacity?
Nope, but you do now have its name.
I'm gonna look at wait, what do you mean I don't have its name?
No, you do. Yeah,
Oh,
you don't know
okay.
Amorius, but now you know the thing's name.
Okay, I'm gonna look at an Orbeez and I'm gonna be like, I need you to bring me the personal info of a thing called Morius.
And it goes and begins spending its time hunting down the book for you.
What were you saying?
And
Offbeat?
yeah, Offbeat.
I was just gonna say. Well, it seems as though have you described the lady that you saw in the
I was,
Orbeez?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
she had
it
a glow in
seems
her eye and all that jazz. Yeah.
It seems as though when this Orbeez is talking about librarians, it seems as though there are two. There's the one outside and the head librarian. I think if we want to get some higher clearance, we need to stop being intruders and pass some tests. I think we need to at least meet with the outside librarian, and if we can't get invited, I think we need to pass some tests.
Oh, is the inside librarian? Are they here? Can we just go find them? Can we just ask the thing to take us to it?
Pause. Point of clarification. Just when you think about you, Gallagher, you seem to be all about power and be able to be good at what you do. If the outside librarian is a goddess, who is the inside librarian? And why is she the current librarian?
Is there another Orbeez around us?
Oh yeah, they're always within reach. There are so many of them. There are some up on the shelves. Yeah.
I'm gonna go look at another one. I'm like, where can we find the head librarian of the name of this place?
And it looks at you and says, "In the library."
Could you take us to her?
Unfortunately, you do not have clearance.
Well,
And we get clearance by getting invited and or tested, correct?
Yes. The outside librarian would give you clearance, and then you would be permitted in as guest.
Is the outside librarian still in existence? Why are they no longer the current librarian? Why are they outside?
The inside librarian manages only the library. The outside librarian manages much more.
Where can we find the outside librarian?
And it sits and it thinks. In the palace of the gods.
Do we know where the Palace of the Gods is?
So that would be in a. You know what? Give me a roll, all of you. Give me a religion check right now.
Slapping myself with guidance.
Yeah,
That's a nat 1 on that one. Ooh. Yeah.
I know exactly where it is.
Yes, I probably heard of it.
23,
17.
21,
17.
21 minus 1, dirty 20.
Okay. So Taika has no idea
Yeah.
where the palace is. That like a casino?
I think I played
And,
a show there once.
yeah. Because and honestly, I think what it is Taika isn't thinking about other planes. Taika is thinking like, where on Earth, or where on the planet, where is that?
Yeah.
And the three of you are like, oh, the home of the gods, the plane of the gods. And as you are thinking that, a voice says, yeah, probably not on the top of your list right now. But what did I know? Could be. And there's a
Who are
voice.
you?
There's a familiar voice behind you.
Nebula. It's Nebula.
And
I'm gonna
Nebula,
turn around
Yeah.
and with quarterstaff at the ready, I'm like, "Who the hell are you?"
and
Shillelagh.
Nebula is behind you all. And the Orbite turns and says, hello, intruder. And it looks at them. And then they pause for a moment. And it says, may I help you? And Nebula responds, I'm not here for anything except a delivery. And withdraws 5 envelopes
Oh no.
and places them down in front of you all.
Which nebula? Which nebula are you? We've encountered 1, 2, 3. 3 within the last 48 hours. More before that, apparently.
Hopefully, I'm the last. And then they reach up and they grab an amulet and they vanish.
You see, I instinctively grab the amulet that I
An
have.
identical amulet.
Yep.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yep. Yep.
I'm
And
gonna
that-
go and oh, never mind.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, I opened the envelope.
Yeah. And as you reach over, you grab the envelope, and that leaves these envelopes right there for you to approach. And there is one that has your name on it. You are invited, Eris. And you see your name on it. And as you pop it open, you slide out. And as you open up this page, this folded handwritten letter, Dear Eris, at your earliest convenience, would you be so kind as to join me in the crown room? Signed, Gravvicon. And that is where we end for today.
We just got fired, guys.
Oh no!
No,
2
it's
weeks
the
notice.
Axis. It's the Axis. Ah!
But a figure with a crown atop their head and 5 spires looks about an empty crown room and says, I will be the new God, the true God. We have no need for this. Talking to themselves in a grand room, they continue to monologue to themselves for what seems like hours. And they continue to mutter and talk, and they are going on and on about they will be the true. They will be the new. They will be the next. I just have to make sure there's none of them left. And it turns and it begins to walk out of the room. And it is at this point, whatever point in time this is, you see the corpses of Reiko, Liba, and Sumier, and the rest, the 13. And this crowned figure begins walking away, and bits of Gravvicon Castle start to crumble and break off and float into the void.